So I, 27M, have 3 younger half-siblings, 24F, 22M and 21M. We're maternal half-siblings, and I have a different dad to them. Their dad was dating my mom for several years, but they never got married. So he wasn't legally ever my stepdad, but I guess he would kind of get the title since he lived with my mom and I lived with her half the time. He was never interested in me and I was never interested in him. He used to creep me out, so I don't really think of him like that, but technically their dad would have been my step. Mine was never anything to them. When my mom was pregnant with the youngest, their dad was arrested and he went to prison. He was briefly released 8 years later, but ended up going back to prison. He wasn't a good guy and has a long list of convictions now. I was 8 when mom died. I was living with my dad full-time when she died. She was not taking good care of me and was taking her anger about her boyfriends release out on me through a lot of yelling and talking to me like shit. When mom died, a social worker got involved and my half-siblings were removed. They had no biological family willing to take them and the social worker asked my dad if he would consider a kinship care agreement so they could be raised alongside me. My dad said that was not something he would be interested in, and so my half-siblings were placed in foster care. My dad did agree to some visits. We had one visit every 2 months for years. The visits were never easy because my half-siblings would ask to move in with my dad and me, and they would ask why my dad didn't visit and why couldn't they be with him instead so we could live together. They were separated most of the time in foster care and would put that on me and my dad as well. I refused the visits once I turned 16. I hadn't wanted them for a while, but it was more annoying than anything to have to repeat the same conversation every 2 months. My dad let me make the decision because he really had to drag me there for most of the visits anyway. We had no contact for years, and then just over 2 years ago, they reached out to me and said they wanted a relationship again. I told them I didn't and they said they wouldn't mention my dad again, so I agreed and things were going all right. Not having to have that fight with them made it easier to care. But then a few weeks ago, I found out at my half-brother's 21st birthday party that they have been lying to people claiming my dad was their stepdad and he dumped them in foster care as soon as mom died. They apparently knew most people wouldn't think he was wrong if he was just my dad they never knew. So they spun a story. I told people the truth when it came up and afterward I told my half-siblings that I was so done with them and that their obsession with my dad taking them in is what drove me crazy before. I told them he wasn't their anything and lying was not the way to win me over. They accused me of ruining their lives by exposing their lies. AITA?